up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA, and here we go with the box office breakdown, the scoreboard for the film industry. Here's where we take a look at who's hot, who's not, the winners and the losers. We also take a look at the week that just passed, along with the week that is to come. And of course, we got to keep talking about Top Gun Maverick. This movie isn't going anywhere. It is once again tied at this point, #1 in the box office. Every single weekend, this film does the job. And right now, as you probably already know, it is the first film in 2022 to cross the $1 billion mark. Not a Marvel film that came out in Doctor Strange, right? Not any of the other big name franchises like Batman, that didn't cross 1 billion. Nope, it was Top Gun Maverick. So let's go ahead and take a look at Box Office Pro, where all the movie fans go. Weekend box office, Elvis and Top Gun Maverick in a dead heat for the #1 spot with 30.5 million each. So Elvis came out and we knew they would make some noise, but not do a whole lot. Like, it wasn't going to do like 50, 60, 70 million or anything like that. But we did know that it was going to be probably pushing for that #1 spot. And it definitely is locked in there, right there in a dead heat with Top Gun Maverick. We'll see how the Sunday numbers come out overall when the final numbers drop tomorrow. These are just estimates. But right now, it's looking pretty good for Elvis. So yeah, let's go ahead and read through this article. So it says, blue suede shoes seeing green. He might be nicknamed the king of rock and roll, but it's unclear that Elvis is the king at the box office. Of course, it debuts with a projected 30.5 million on the lower end of the pre-release projections, which were in the 35 to 40 million dollar range. You know, and it kind of gives like the comparison to some of the other musician biopics, Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody, Yesterday, and so on. But yeah, I think that it did pretty good. I didn't expect Elvis to get to the pre-release projections. I thought that it would do solid. You know, it'd probably be in that 30 to 35 million range. I didn't do a prediction on it, but that was kind of my feeling. It's like, well, there's a lot of stuff out in theaters right now that are doing very, very well. Jurassic World still doing well. You still have, you know, Top Gun, of course, doing well. And then there's other films like Lightyear that are still going to be bringing some crowds in. So I thought it would be, you know, kind of in that mix. And then, of course, we had The Black Phone. The Black Phone also debuted this week. That was a horror film that a lot of horror fans were looking forward to going out and seeing. I thought that the overall projection for Elvis was kind of high, but still, you know, it could possibly hit that $35 million range. It says here that the audiences, 60% of which were 35 and up, you know, so clearly the older audiences are the ones that are going to go out there and really support that. Has been supporting, you know, these other films out here, Top Gun Maverick, you know, West Side Story, The Last Duel last year. Overseas, it started off with $20 million. And then has a $50.5 million global opening. So that's pretty decent. I think that Elvis is in decent shape. We'll see where it's going to land in terms of the box office overall and if it's going to be a hit or a miss. But I think right now where it's at, I think it's in a good spot. So back up here, it says Top Gun Maverick. It's also did 30.5 million this weekend. So it's notching the fifth weekend of all time. That only ranks behind American Sniper and Avatar. And yeah, it says here it's gunning for $1 billion. You know, yeah, it absolutely hit $1 billion, and it goes into that. It says here, despite posting an opening behind Doctor Strange Multiverse, it overtook Multiverse on their respective 10th days. Ditto for the Batman. Maverick opened 5% behind it, but it overtook it on its respective 4th days. And then the same for Jurassic World. It opened 12% behind, but exactly like Batman, it overtook it on its 4th day of release. So what does this mean? This means that right off the bat, Maverick got great word of mouth, and it got a lot of repeat viewings. That's what these movies need in order to hit $1 billion. It can't just be, we're going to just sell 1 billion to a wide range of different fans. It's got to be repeat viewings. It's got to be word of mouth. Hey man, you need to go out and check out this movie. I loved it. You'll love it. Go see it. And it's got to also have those repeat viewers that are just coming at again and again, 3 or 4 times to see this particular film. Maverick has earned 521 million domestic, 484 overseas, and 1.005 billion globally. It's the biggest global total of 2022 so far, including the Chinese films. Then we'll touch on what's really most impressive about Top Gun Maverick in just a moment. Jurassic World still biting, it says here. 2 frames ago, it was debuted behind both of its predecessors. Nevertheless, right now, the film has earned $302 million domestically, $443 overseas, and $746.6 globally. And the top markets, you can see those out there in the overseas markets, is doing very, very, very well. Even though you have a film that's giving you diminishing returns at this particular moment, but still there are fans of this particular franchise that are just dedicated and diehards. They're going to go out and see this. This $443 million overseas, that's really, really impressive for this film. And I think that this film will probably get really super close to making $1 billion again. You know, the previous 2 films in Jurassic World's franchise did cross that $1 billion mark. I think that this film also is going to either cross it or get really super close to it. But then of course we go on, we're talking about The Black Phone that came in at 4th place. I enjoyed the film. My cousins didn't. They hated it. They thought it was trash, but I actually liked this film. It's an old Scott Derrickson throwback, and I'll get into it in my review. But it feels like a Scott Derrickson film from beginning to end, and you can see some of the other films that he has directed: Deliver Us from Evil, Sinister, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I don't think it was as scary as it could be, but I thought it was a lot of fun. And yeah, it did really well in the box office. Then we get to Lightyear. Lightyear number 5 this week, to infinity and below. You know, last week, of course, it had 50.5 million. It fell 65% to $17 million this week. That is a huge drop for a Pixar film. You can see, like the other films that were theatrically released, as far as Pixar is concerned, it fell below The Dinosaur, Cars 2, The Incredibles, and Cars 3. Disney, again, like I said last week, they're looking at this film, despite what you think about Lightyear, despite what you think about the film in and of itself. A lot went wrong with this. Some of the marketing, you know, and the word of mouth that was coming out before the film even came out definitely damaged it. And then, of course, you have a star like Chris Evans, who made his comments about the people that could possibly go and see the film, and that knocked it off a notch. And then, of course, you had the Tim Allen, Chris Evans situation, replacing the voice of Lightyear with another actor. That left some people kind of feeling sour. So yeah, I know that there are lessons that are going to be learned from that. But anyway, folks, that'll do it for the rundown. Let's go ahead and check out the box office numbers, and let's see where everything stacked up this week. All right, folks, and here we go. The top 10 for the weekend. Let's check it out. All right, so we said it before, Elvis and Top Gun Maverick, both at $30.5 million. Yeah, I think that there's going to be a winner, obviously, but solid numbers for either one, no matter which way you go with it. I think that's a good start for Elvis. And then for Top Gun in its 5th weekend to still be pulling in $30 million, whew, that is impressive no matter how you look at it. And that's the reason why it's already crossed the $1 billion mark. Yeah, I think it's just going to keep going. I think it's just going to keep on climbing. It's just going to keep on making money. Hats off to the folks over there at Paramount again. Very, very impressive. Jurassic World Dominion comes in 3rd place, $26.4 million, followed by The Black Phone in 4th place, $23.3 million, and then in 5th place, Lightyear at $17.6 million. All right, and then for the rest of the top 10, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, even though it's on Disney Plus, you can just go in there and log in and watch it for Disney Plus for yourself. Still, however, does $1.7 million. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, $533,000. Bob's Burger at $513,000. The Bad Guys, $439,000. And then finally, Downton Abbey coming in 10th place this week, $370K. All right, and then we get to the week over week drops. So you can see the drop for Top Gun is just still magnificent. 31% week over week. That is great. And every studio would pray and beg and serve up their firstborn to get something like that. Jurassic World Dominion drops 55% from last week. Lightyear, 65%. That has got to really, really hurt, because after a bad start from Pixar and all the word of mouth starts to get out, you just hope that, okay, maybe we can just have a small drop. It won't be that bad. Nope. 65% drop. That means that nobody is going to see this film. I have a feeling before we get to the end of July, this thing is going to be on Disney Plus. Then you get to, of course, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness still hanging in there, 61% drop. And then finally, Everything Everywhere All at Once, finally getting like something of a normal drop for itself. You know, it's been getting like these super tiny drops. Now we get to something that's more reasonable, a 43% drop. Okay, finally, you know, this movie has just been dropping like by inches every week. Finally, it gets kind of a normal looking drop for itself. So then we move on to the top 10 worldwide. Top Gun Maverick, first film in 2022 to hit $1 billion. We got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, $947 million. The Batman coming in at $770, Jurassic World Dominion, and Watergate Bridge. You also have the rest of those: Uncharted, The Secrets of Dumbledore, Sonic hitting $400 million. I said that was going to happen, and it happened. Proud of this particular film. It did a great job. We're going to take a look at something regarding that in just a second. The Bad Guys at $238 million, and then Too Cool to Kill at $217 million. All right, so here we go with the make it or break it. And Lightyear, right off the bat, we can see it's not doing very well. Still hasn't even came towards the budget number of $200 million. It needs $500 million to break even. Right now, sitting at 152. It's a wrap. It's a wrap, y'all. I don't think it has a chance. It might get close to maybe 300, maybe 350, but I mean, that's really wishful thinking. You know, you can see like The Secrets of Dumbledore down at the bottom. It was, you know, pretty much the same situation, had to make 500 million. It stayed in theaters as long as it could, and then they just finally said, forget it, HBO Max. It ends up at 401 million. And I think that Lightyear is probably going to be around that same number, maybe even a little lower. I don't think it's going to make it. You got Elvis. Elvis at $213 million. $50 million isn't a bad start, but it's going to definitely need some help, especially in the overseas markets. I'm not sure how big Elvis is in international markets. I know he's big in America, but how big is he overseas? That I'm not sure of. Nevertheless, it's still a little bit of a climb, but I think with the small drop by next weekend, I think it'll be in much better shape. If it can cross $100 million next week, globally, I think it'll be fine. Downton Abbey still plugging away, but small number. It's $88 million. It only gained like $1 million over this past week. So I think that, you know, if it can get close, maybe if it can cross 90 million, you know, the folks down there will be happy with that. But, you know, based on our general break-even numbers, it's not going to break even. The Black Phone. Now, the Black Phone's a horror film, and it's like really right now the only horror film in theaters. So I think that $61 million that it needs to break even right there, I think that's a pretty good bet that it's going to do that. It's already more than halfway there, you know, with 35.8 million. So all it needs to do is just another $30 million or so. I think it'll get that, not through this week, maybe by 2 weeks from now. I think it'll be at the break even mark. And that's good, you know, because I like the film, and I think more horror films during the summer are needed. It's probably smart strategy because you're looping that particular horror film in around a lot of other big blockbuster genres, and the horror fans are going to come out anyway. They're going to eat this thing up. And then, yeah, lastly, Secrets of Dumbledore, like I said, 401 million. I just really left it up there as a comparison to Lightyear because they both had the exact same numbers and both kind of started out flat. And yeah, I think that's where Lightyear is probably going to end up, around the 350 to $400 million mark. So right now, let's kind of look at Top Gun. Let's go back and take a couple of looks at why did this film do so well in terms of it hitting $1 billion. What was the difference between Top Gun and all of these other films that came out? You got some big names here. Look, you got Doctor Strange, you got Batman, you know, these are big franchises, right? And those have come out long before Top Gun. So what happened? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, you guys remember this particular segment of why T is wrong, because he thought that Top Gun Maverick wasn't going to do anything in the box office whatsoever. And so we broke it down for him so he could understand, and we're going to keep reminding him of it every chance that we get. Nevertheless, star power, sequel power, it opened Memorial Day weekend, summer movie, and of course it wasn't going to stream in anytime soon. So all of those are the big reasons we said Top Gun was going to do very, very well. But on top of that, I came up with a couple other reasons why Top Gun Maverick is winning. And they got old Charlie Sheen there saying winning, although I tried to get Tom Cruise's face in there, it didn't quite look right. So Charlie's going to let us know why this thing is winning. And number one, it should be kind of obvious, but maybe not. This is a patriotic movie. And we're right now living in a time where there is a lot of folks that are embracing Americana. We're living in a time where a lot of folks want something that is promoting positive American values, and Top Gun Maverick absolutely does that in spades. And you can watch my review where I discuss some of that, but it is a wholly patriotic film. Fans that are American, came out Memorial Day weekend, and people were like, yes, I want some positive stuff, Americana. I want to see a film. It's an old throwback. It had a positive American presence then, it has it again now. So I think that is one huge reason why I got a lot of people going back to seeing this film over and over. Because think about it, how many films right now are out in theaters that you could say shed a positive light on our country? Right, exactly. Not too many. And so once you have a film like Top Gun Maverick that says, hey, we're just going to put out a positive message about, America as a whole, as a country, a positive message about our military and everything of that nature. Once you see something like that, people are going to flock to that. So, keep an eye on that. See if you start to notice some changes in the way Hollywood addresses this particular topic. So yeah, for individuals in this country that have been starving for patriotism or something of that nature and they're not getting it, booyah, yeah, this checks all the boxes. This feels good to them, and that's why they went out to see this multiple times. All right, so the next thing I thought was a unique sequel, and by that I mean this. This sequel comes 30 plus years after the original, right? So it's not like a typical sequel where you have it coming in maybe within a year, 2 years, maybe even 4 or 5 years, and because of that, you have a different type of story that is more intriguing. It's unique. It's different. You can actually watch this film without watching the original film. I know people haven't really done that, but you could literally come in and just say, okay, I'm just going to take this film on its face, because even though the stuff from the first film definitely ties into it, it's not so crucial that you can't understand what happened back on that first film from the information that it lays out here and what's going forward. Again, that's another thing that I said in my review. I thought that was an excellent move on their part. And then not only that, and this is something that was interesting, my brother had mentioned this, it's kind of like you have that Cobra Kai feel where you get to see how characters have developed over a period, a stretch of time, a period of like 20 to 30 years have gone by. And this guy is not the same exact guy that he was 20 or 30 years ago. None of us are, and it like kind of dives into that, and it makes this interesting. So it doesn't feel like a traditional, paint by number sequel. We're just going to kind of do the same thing we did on the last one again. No, Pete Mitchell is in a different space in this film than he was in the first film. He's kind of like the elder statesman now, and he has to comport himself completely differently than he did in that first film. And so we're seeing the growth of Pete Mitchell. We're seeing his life in a different light. Also, the information that was going down with Rooster and that connection. You can't do something like that 4 or 5 years later, because Rooster would have been like a little kid. No, you have to wait 30 years, and they've had to have their own different kind of backstory, and that just made for a much more interesting film, in my opinion. So yeah, I think just having a unique feel to this particular sequel was definitely a positive. And then the final thing, and I think this is the thing that most people probably are skipping over, but it's very important. Tom Cruise, and I made his name the biggest because here's the thing about Tom Cruise. He's a movie star, and he understands what's expected of a movie star in terms of the box office and the bottom line, okay? He's not like a Chris Evans who just went out there and just made some, statements to, people that could potentially go out and watch his film, and he made some negative statements to those folks. Yeah, he's not that guy. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and check this particular article out from Deadline. And it talks about, Top Gun going past $1 billion at the worldwide box office, but it had this particular interesting spot here where it says Top Gun Maverick's performance is a testament to the work that Paramount's distribution and marketing teams put behind it, while Cruise himself deserves massive credit. The indefatigable star traveled to San Diego, Mexico City, Japan, Cannes, London, Seoul to promote the movie. After his Korea trip, he even made a pit stop at the Cine Europe convention in Barcelona this past Wednesday. This guy's still out there on a promotion tour, and he says en route from Seoul to the set of the next Mission Impossible film, thanking the exhibition personally for his efforts. This is the thing that stars don't understand, and you know, you got to get out there and you're the face of this thing. You got to get out there and just promote, be super friendly and enjoyable, because I'm guaranteeing you, Tom Cruise hears all of these little statements. There's probably somebody making some snide remark about Scientology somewhere. Hey, Tom, what do you have to say about this? And Tom Cruise knows, hey, keep it pushing. I'm not going to say nothing to this guy. He's trying to bait me and get me in trouble, and that's going to ultimately hurt the bottom line for my films. So Tom Cruise just throws up the deuces and says, on with the show. We out of here. We're going to keep talking about Top Gun Maverick and the positive things that we can do to promote this film. He's not here for the divisiveness. He's not here for the anger and the frustration. He is here to promote. And I guarantee you, it's going to be the same thing with Mission Impossible. And Mission Impossible is probably going to be crossing $1 billion as well. So yeah, going back to the checklist, you got a guy like Tom Cruise that's out there doing the movie star's job of pre and promotion. And remember, this isn't a comic book movie. This isn't some big genre blockbuster. This is not a big franchise that they could peel off a sequel for or something like this. Top Gun came out back in the 80s and it hasn't been seen or heard from since. And this guy turned this thing into $1 billion sequel. You got to give him credit. Tom Cruise, hats off to this guy for doing the job of a Hollywood star, promoting the film, keeping his mouth shut about his personal opinions. Hey, I want everybody to go see my movie, and that's what it's all about. All right, folks, but that'll do it for that little checklist of why Top Gun Maverick is winning. Let's go ahead and take a look for next week. Let's see what we're dealing with. Lightyear has some more trouble on the way. All right, and here we go for next week, and you can see what's coming up next. Oh boy, we got a couple of wide releases. Mr. Malcolm's List, I'm not sure what that is, never heard of it. But then obviously Minions, The Rise of Gru. Another animated film that's going to jump right in front of Lightyear and say, look at me, forget all this Buzz Lightyear stuff. I'm the guy. That's what's about to happen. And yeah, that's going to be tough for Lightyear, of course. And then following, we got Thor, Love and Thunder. I'll be doing box office predictions for both of these films, so you can check for those. You should come out on Tuesday of the next couple of weeks. And then, yeah, we'll see what they do. Now, the last thing I did want to touch on, now we did talk about Sonic the Hedgehog crossing the $400 million mark. I think that is very, very impressive. Let's go ahead and check back to our list of highest grossing video game adaptations. And there you see it right there. Sonic the Hedgehog, $400 million. Very, very impressive. Sitting in 5th place. Could possibly get to, you know, 4th place if it can somehow find another $1 million or so to pass up Uncharted, but I don't think it's going to happen. Nevertheless, when you start taking a look at both films, you got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 here. Down here, you got Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic is at 320. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is at 400. You're talking about $720 million overall between the two films. Obviously, the next time they make a Sonic 3 is in development now, and I think that it possibly will eclipse Warcraft, sitting up at $439 million. I think everybody's going to come out and see that, especially if they can get Jim Carrey back. I know that Jim Carrey said that he doesn't want to do any more films. He is retired from acting, but if they could come up with the right script, I think that Jim Carrey is the heart and soul of this entire franchise, along with Sonic, of course. But I think that his portrayal of Dr. Robotnik is so fun, and yeah, I just really hope that this guy comes back to the mix for at least one more film, because that'll definitely catapult Sonic over that $1 billion threshold as a overall franchise. And I think it deserves it because they listened to the fans from the outset. They said, hey, we're gonna make something that the people that we care about want to see. And I think that a whole lot of other studios need to follow in the paths of movies like Sonic, of movies like Top Gun Maverick. Make stuff for the fans, for the people. Pay attention to your audience. Start doing things that bring us back to, you know, the films that we enjoyed from the 80s and the 90s. A lot of the films that we're watching nowadays, it's just kind of like, I don't know what to think about the film industry anymore. But I think if they can go back, straight back to those days, I think better times are to come for movies. But nevertheless, folks, that'll do it for me. If you haven't done so already, you know we got like and subscribe buttons down below. I'd really appreciate if you check those out, click those. That'll help my channel grow, and that'll give you guys more opportunities to watch and read and check out the content that's coming. All right, folks, thanks for watching. See you next time.